Welcome to Speed Scene Live TV, the only show dedicated to the sportsman racer. Brought to you by Curry Rear Ends, Hedman Hustler Headers, M&H Tires, and TheFoat.com. With your hosts, Diana-Mite, Bruce Barker, and Scott Lucky Hudson.
Oh, yeah, and it's another Tuesday night. You're live with Diana-Mite in studio, real and, well, here.
You are real, Diana-Mite.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
You're 100% real.
Touch me, tell me, pinch me.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm not turning that down.
We've got Scott Lucky. Let me go with my introductions.
I'm real, too. Just the smile's fake.
Scott Lucky Hudson.
Oh, man.
As he is. And, of course, the infamous Bruce Barker back there handling all the controls.
I think tonight's statement to start with would be Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine. What? Me worry?
Yeah. Speaking of things to worry about, don't you have the Green Lantern over here, Mr. Hot Rod Bob Beck?
Yeah, look at that, the Green Lantern.
Bummer about that whole camera issue, huh?
Oh, boy.
He's kind of glowing.
I think he's got a big wad of $100 bills. That's why he's so green tonight.
It's the kryptonite, my friend.
Yeah, the kryptonite, yeah.
We want to let everybody know that the March meet, it's coming up at the Auto Club, Famoso Raceway, March 7th through the 10th. You can buy your spectator tickets online right now at TheFoat.com. Don't wait in line. Buy your tickets now and just walk right in.
Hey, come see us in the Curry Rear Ends Hedman Hessler booth. And coming up on Speed Scene Live tonight, check out this video. This is some revolutionary stuff for people that own GoPro cameras. We're going to talk to the inventor and find out all the different stuff. Watch this. This camera is moving by itself, Diana-Mite. No cameraman. Yet it's like it has a little tiny cameraman built in, and as you move around, it spins around.
It's
and
like it has a mind of its own,
it's
Lucky.
awesome. It's the opposite of me, someone that has no mind of their own. Now, coming up later in the month, we are going to have a great show featuring a bunch of Speedway racers because the Monster Energy World Speedway Invitational is coming up December 29th at the City of Industry track with some of the world's best riders, some European riders, some Swedish riders, and we're going to have European rider Greg Hancock in studio. We're going to have Billy Hamill, promoter Kelly Inman, and special guest, the junior rider Maverick Malloy, who's sort of crossing over from Speedway and junior dragster driving.
Oh.
So that's coming up, and check it out December 29th. And also, join TheFoat.com. There's a link on our website. I'm talking to people right here while we're doing the show, and I'd love to talk to you, too.
All right. Now, Brian Layton, not on the show tonight with the PRP Seats and Belts Off-Road Report. He's digging some new dirt for us to talk about in the coming weeks on Speed Scene Live. So, Hot Rod Bob is back in studio this week talking with Fast Jack Beckman. Let me say this again. Fast Jack Beckman, world champion. NHRA world champion.
Can I get it right, Bruce?
There it is.
Spit it out.
Is fourth time the charm for me? NHRA.
His first,
world
your
champion.
fourth. Okay.
Oh, and by the way, what?
His first, your fourth.
I was getting it right, Bob.
Yes, you were. That's right. You got it wrong.
Next week, hey, man, who's coming up next week? It's the race car girl.
Well, we're going to have Alex, the race car girl. She's going to come in and talk about her Dodge Magnum race car. We're also going to talk to Ernie Saxon. Ernie Saxon does a column in National Dragster about how to get sponsored, how to stay sponsored, what you need to do, and he's going to call in and give us some tips. And also later tonight, we're going to get some tips about how to get sponsored by Ike Heckler Jr., the author of the
Racing 101, like
Racing 101 and Racing 201.
That's right, right. The 201, of course, dealing with today's economy. And we all know how painful that
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Exactly. Well,
Yes.
Dynamite, why don't you introduce the guy that's responsible for creating this incredible vector mount?
The incredible vector mount. Well, we have Steve here in studio. Steve, welcome to Speed Scene Live.
Thank you very much.
Steve, you've got a great product here, and one of the things that I like about it, the GoPro's incredible. I love the GoPro cameras. Great picture. You can put them anywhere. However, they're kind of boring after a couple minutes because they don't move around. Now, Steve, let's pull out this mount right here, and tell us a little bit about your revolutionary vector mount.
Well, you're right. I was thrilled with the GoPro when I got it for my birthday present, and then I put it on, and I was stunned with how good the quality was, but the video was very boring because it didn't move. So what we did is came up with this device that is passive, meaning it doesn't have any electrical feed, nothing is really programming it, but it is programmed by the wind. So the tail here points the camera into the wind as the vehicle is moving down track, and it's not really that appropriate for drag racing, but we're on the show because we're going to show you some other things as well. But so the wind points the camera down track until you turn the car. Then once you turn the car, centrifugal force acts on this weight and actually makes the camera turn with the car.
So when we saw all that great footage of cars moving and it's spinning around, what's happening is that arm is swinging. As the car turns left, the arm swings out and the camera turns left.
Exactly, and that's what you're seeing on the drift cars. And here you might see two different camera versions, which is one pointing forward and one pointing rearward, but they're doing the same thing. And it is using centrifugal force primarily. In the drifting, it's using only wind energy because we don't want it pointing the wrong direction with centrifugal force.
Is that a real word, rearward?
Yeah, rearward.
That's
yes,
a real
it's pointing
word.
rearward. Yes, it is. And that's the camera.
I just learned something new today.
Yes. And so this then is adjustable by the way you set the unit up. It is much more like a carburetor than it is fuel injection. You actually tune this thing just as you would tune many other things, and you make a pass, watch what it does, and then change the tuning with the slide weight here, or in the tails as you go faster or slower. You also, with the GoPros, you quite often, there's such a wide angle view, you quite often turn the camera, point it downward a little bit so you can see the hood of the car or the roof of the car.
Yeah.
And you do those things, and of course the idea is that you're trying to create good video. It's not really about this device. This device allows you to really have the simulation of a cameraman sitting on your hood.
Which is what we're looking for.
Exactly.
In fact, you mentioned the two-camera version. Here it is right here, which has a camera mounted front and back, or rearward.
Well, what's that little camera, Lucky?
Well, Steve wants to let people know that this unit, although we keep throwing the GoPro word out there, because GoPro's kind of like Kleenex, you know, you kind of interchange that with the product. There's a lot of different companies out there that make small cameras that do the exact same thing. And Steve, this mount will work with all those other cameras as well.
Well,
correct?
that's an adapter, right?
That
Steve?
is correct. It's an adapter, and it will adapt light cameras. It won't adapt a big, giant, heavy camera, but it will adapt any light camera. And we have another version we're working on for big cameras, and that's for the professional videographers that are doing movies, things like that.
Now, we've got to talk about these suction cups because these things are intense. But we'll get to that in a minute. One of the reasons that this camera mount is so special, and you can see in this video, is it translates the action of racing. You know, racing's very exciting stuff. And when I look at these GoPro cameras and they're mounted in a car and you've got this static shot that doesn't move, it sort of takes some of the excitement out. And what this mount's doing is it's bringing all that excitement that's just organically there anyway. I mean, look at these cars. You see the spoilers moving, you see the tire smoke coming around, and it really kind of feels like you're in the car.
Well, yeah, in fact, as the car, we can see it as the car is pushing itself sideways. What the GoPro without this mount would be doing is pointing directly rearward, like, you know, the rearward.
Rearward, see? There you go.
Like what we're seeing now, so we wouldn't even be able to see the car that's close to this driver,
Right.
you know, in some of that video because it would be in back.
Right.
Well,
And
what's
he's
really
off to the
funny,
side.
if you start watching these videos, you'll see quite often the GoPros that are mounted statically are looking up in the crowd. And so our camera is spanning over the GoPro cameras and actually showing how the GoPro can get a great shot periodically, but a lot of the times it isn't working. And that's really where the problem comes in for the professionals, is that they don't want to have to edit 14 different camera shots together to get a live shot.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody loves this so much, because you can just run, as these videos are showing you, it's just showing what's really happening, but you can see the car pirouetting underneath the camera.
So I guess one of the things we want to emphasize here, it's not all about the camera itself. It's all about the apparatus that's holding the camera, right?
Exactly.
Correct. In fact, on the Fote.com, we just got a post where they say it does feel like you're in the car now. Instead of looking like you're staring at a camera shot, now you feel like you're in the car because you see everything
You're moving.
happening.
Yeah, there's
Hey,
actual movement.
Yeah, now, Steve, a question I've got off the Fote.com is, have you got a patent on it, and was it difficult to get a patent?
Patents are a nightmare. I don't recommend it for anybody. We do not have a patent issued. We have applied for patents, and that's what you do. You apply for patents and wait for the rest of your life.
So
but
patent pending.
Oh, it's all patent pending. It's engraved on it, which is one of the legalities, yes.
And you're protected. Somebody can't come out and steal your idea.
No, that's not really true. The way patents work is you are not protected until the patent is issued. So we are looking to the first patent to issue within about 6 months from now.
Oh, wow.
That's
Now, these mounts are available and people can purchase them. Where can people go, and how much does something like this cost, roughly?
You can go to vectormount.com. We have many dealers, and they are listed on the website as well. The basic unit, which this is the unit we're showing here, has a suction cup base, and that is not really the way it was designed originally. But with the suction cup base and the single camera unit, it's $249, and that is not including the GoPro camera. That is just the basic unit. Then to add the second camera, it's $299, and then
Total.
That is correct.
And we want to emphasize that this isn't cheapy plastic material. This looks like billet, right?
It is all billet
steel?
aluminum.
This
yes.
is beautiful.
And these suction cups, they're not like the little ones that you find that you stick something to
No,
your window.
they're not.
I'm telling you, there's 3, but I just suction cupped one to the table, just one of the 3. I still couldn't pull this doggone thing up.
Yeah, this
So-
thing is mounted. I've never seen anything
I've
mount
never
so secure.
seen suction cups like this. They should be on the rover, the space rover or something.
Now-
Tell me about how fast a car, what have you mile per hour this thing at?
The highest speed that we've had the suction cups at is 228 miles an hour in the wind.
In the wind,
And
okay.
to do that, we are doing it with always safety wiring because we are testing. We're in a test mode.
Sure.
So in doing that, we are testing so that if it were to come loose, it's entirely safe, won't
Yeah.
cause any trouble. But we've never had them come loose, ever.
Okay.
That is amazing to be able to go that fast and have that thing attached.
So
And not only does it stay on, though, but it provides a stable base so that your film isn't all jittery. I mean, look at this go-kart. You know what it feels like when you're in a go-kart.
Yep.
It feels like it's tearing your guts out. And look how smooth it is. It doesn't vibrate. It's not jumpy. I mean, this is as good as it gets right here. Look
And
at
that's
that.
Tony Hawk. That's Tony Hawk driving a go-kart.
Is it
And
really?
yes, it is. And he was texting at the same time trying to run this go-kart track. That's on our website. It's a very
Wow.
cute video.
Oh, for Pete's
Now,
sake.
how about something?
What a show off.
How about something like, the dirt track? Putting this on a truck that gets a lot of vibration, bouncing.
Well,
I mean,
surprisingly,
would it stick?
It will always stick. It will never come off. The thing that really we learned in developing the Vector mount was that to get good video, you have to have very, very rigid mounting. So while a truck might be jumping up and down and
here we
going
go.
crazy,
Yeah.
you will actually find that if the camera is not wiggling, you will just see the motion of the truck. It's when you have a wiggly mount, it starts overreacting and you start getting really bad video.
That's
Well,
what
it
you got
starts-
doing, yeah.
Yeah, it focuses on different things too, right?
Exactly.
And it's all wiggly.
Yes.
Like, okay, so here they are in the desert. That was my next question.
And
So-
notice again, we're anticipating the turns as they come about. So you're actually seeing what's coming up in front of you as you turn.
It's your driver's eye view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On our
It's-
website, we have videos that show a static mount looking at this, and so you can see both views at the same time, and it really is alarming the difference.
I've seen so many GoPros, so many in cars. I've got one in my own car. And, I drive a 9-second 66 Chevy Nova. About 7 seconds, I start getting bored. It's like, well, when's this thing going to end? But,
9
this
seconds.
Well, the funny
There's
thing
the
about
answer.
these is the way that I've told that we were really onto something wasn't about asking the racers. It was about asking the wives. Because the racers are so enamored, they are the heroes, and of course GoPros are called heroes for a reason. And in asking the wives what they thought, they looked at me and said, this is the first video I've enjoyed. Because they've seen hundreds of videos, and their boyfriend or husband wants them to watch them and wants them to enjoy them, and they're really just very bored.
So you're getting applause from the laymen out there.
They are
basically.
enjoying it.
So you're getting people that aren't your regular race car drivers, but they're
Exactly.
the spouses or the better halves, and they can actually enjoy the footage.
Right.
we had that same thing happen here on the show. We had Dave McClellan, a legend in motorsports and announcing, and greatest voice in the world, and he's been on the show a couple times, and the first time he came on the show, he brought his wife, and she sat off and was watching the show. And after the show, she said, I really don't like all that racing stuff, but I really enjoyed your show.
Well, didn't she bring her knitting with her? She's like, I didn't even get any knitting done.
And that is the greatest compliment.
That is.
Because it really shows, like with your mount, Steve, it really shows that, hey, this is something special.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, what's your website? VectorMount.com.
Yes.
And all these videos, you can see them on the Vector Mount. And we're going to take a commercial break, but when we come back, we've got an interesting story because NHRA recently came out and said, we don't want racers using these type of mounts because they're dangerous.
Well, it's not those type of mounts.
No. Not this particular mount.
Yeah.
But when we come back, they don't want this mount.
You mean the plastic one, the flimsy plastic?
But
okay.
NHRA says, well, this is a whole different story. And we're going to show you a little bit more about that. So stay tuned. Speed Scene Live right after the break.
Hi, this is Crazy Connie, and when I'm not doing wheelies, I'm watching Speed Scene Live.
For over half a century, Currie rear-end components have been twisting out the torque and taking the punishment. And the new Currie lineup is stronger than ever. Some of the world's most capable, hardest-working vehicles depend on Currie gears, which is why you can too. Street cars, hot rods and resto rods, drag cars, rock-crawling four-wheel drive vehicles, whatever you're piloting, Currie expertise and rock-solid design means the parts will do their job, so you can do yours. Check out Currie's custom rear ends, featuring a full line of upgrades, components, and installation options. The Currie Crate rear ends lineup offers ultra-strong construction on third members and carrier assemblies. And other underside parts, like correct link steering systems, keep your four-wheeler pointed where you want it. Add in a wide variety of solid, purpose-built suspension and brake components, and you've got one tough, ready-to-go machine. Grab a hold of a Currie rear end. Talk to the experts at 714-367-2679 or view the complete line online at CurrieEnterprises.com.
Whether you have a hot rod that needs more hustle or a muscle car that needs more muscle, if it's more power you want, Hedman has it. Since 1954, Hedman headers have worked harder, fit better, and lasted longer than the new guys on the block. In fact, Hedman headers are so tough, they're guaranteed for life. So log on to Hedman.com tonight, because if it's more power you want, Hedman has it.
Welcome back to Speed Scene Live TV with your hosts, Diana-Mite, Bruce Barker, Scott Lucky Hudson, the Off-Road Report with Bryant Layton, and the Great American Auto Scene with Bob Beck.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Lucky. I've got Diana-Mite over here, Bruce Barker turning knobs, changing controls. I got Hot Rod Bob Beck. He's feeling a little green tonight. And, of course, we are talking to Steve. Steve, you are the inventor and the manufacturer of the Vector mount. And right before the break, I mentioned about these cheesy little plastic mounts that NHRA said, no, you can't use these.
Haven't there been some issues with that, Bob? You were telling us about an issue with one of those, weren't you? Something about
they've come off on cars that are going down the track, and we were just talking with you about that. And one of the cars, it ran over its own camera and found the wall.
Oh my!
Found the wall.
Found the wall. Was able to.
And it wasn't being videotaped, huh?
Yeah, no longer. It had a great shot of the tire.
Well, no, typically after they run over them and stuff, the cameras are still working fine.
Well.
They just created an accident and there's all kinds of trouble, but the cameras still work.
Yeah.
Kind of like Timex made cameras.
That's it.
The car's a problem, but the camera's not.
Yeah.
Now, what happened is Steve went to NHRA and talked to him, and they said, well, we're not interested in having these mounts in the cars because of that safety issue. But, Bruce, why don't you bring that camera, why don't you bring me up, and let me show you. Instead of using this type of mount, Vector mount, Steve has created a solid metal mount. This is the roll bar version.
Ooh, and it's shiny and pretty, Lucky.
It's solid, billet, indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve, you've got a couple other. Let me have that one with the roll bar, little piece of tubing going through. a lot of different options available to where now safety's not an issue because we got billet instead of plastic. Now NHRA won't say, oh, you can't run that in the car because this is metal mounts. They prohibit plastic mounts. This is not a plastic mount.
Is it okay to lust after this stuff? Is that okay to do?
We hope for that.
I don't know. Well, we might have to talk to your wife, Bruce.
I can see your next video now, Bruce.
And now, Steve, tell us a little bit about some of the construction and
craftsmanship, basically.
What makes these so strong?
Yes, well, for this particular model, we have actually used the GoPro style of adapters, and they are actually workable for slow speed, low vibration, and they're fine. Once you start vibrating things hard, it just doesn't take it anymore because they're too flexible. So what we've done in our small line of product is pretty much made the same products as GoPro is, but we've made them out of aluminum. We've also added some other degrees of freedom that allow things to move where they weren't able to move before. So a mount like this allows you to place the camera on a roll bar in different sizes and different formats, and to then, once you position, tighten everything up, and it really is just a lot of billet equipment. So they're very bulletproof. This, although, is still light-duty stuff, and so this is good for a GoPro or another light camera, but then we developed this type of product that is much stiffer, much stronger. This is half-inch, half-20 thread. So the GoPro is based on very small threads. This is all 3/4-inch aluminum and half-inch 20 bolts and hardware. So this is very rigid.
Now, Bruce, go back to that last video you were playing. You guys put one of these GoPros on the... is that the last one? Or
Yeah. Here, let's back it up a little.
Okay, back it up. Yeah, right. Keep going. You
want to go back some more? There we go.
Right there. The Vector...
Is that the Winged Express, Lucky?
The Winged Express, probably one of the most violent and radical cars out there. Just to show you how well the Winged Express does with this type of camera, it's amazing.
And this was a rotating vector mount that we were trying to see, and you can watch the front end bounce up and down.
Yeah, you can.
And so where is this mounted at?
Well, actually, this is an interesting issue. See, notice this video, how wiggly it looks.
Yeah.
This is something I was going to share, and since we're running the video, I'll share it now. This is called rolling shutter, and this is something that is a problem with video cameras, not film cameras, and this is something we learned about, and actually GoPro was very helpful in telling us about what's happening. Most people think that with shooting with a GoPro, you want to shoot at 1080, the Hero 2 at least, you want to shoot at the highest resolution. Turns out that the high resolution and the high ignition of drag racing causes a phenomenon known as rolling shutter. So they recommend shooting at 720, 60 frames per second. So we have this on our website to show what goes wrong. To answer your question, the mounts, the internal mounts were suction cup. On all the funny car mounts were suction cup, and the mount on the Winged Express was a rigid mount, as the ones I'm showing here.
Now, does the picture roll, the shutter roll like that, does that decrease when you use a vector mount because it's not shaking it so hard?
No, it actually has very little to do with vibration. It's ignition energy. It actually, and the funny part is, on one of our other videos, you can actually see it starts happening when the other car fires.
Oh, that is interesting.
Not even the same car. The car in the next lane fires, the camera goes into rolling shutter.
I got to admit, I would have thought it was because of the movement of the camera.
You would. That's what we blamed it on to start with.
Wow.
And then we started looking and researching and finding out that that wasn't the case.
Isn't that amazing? These little boxes here, I hate to call things flimsy, too, from GoPro. They make a great little camera. And, the mounts that they make, the plastic ones you were showing there, Steve, a lot of GoPros, I think, originally were used on athletes. So they needed them light, because kind of the basic kits you get with GoPro, it's a helmet mount and, stuff for, motorcycle riders, runners.
They're not really flimsy, but then when you put it in a 3,000 horsepower dragster, then it becomes flimsy.
They didn't know about us.
Yeah.
And actually, they don't even make that. So it's not GoPro's fault. They buy that product.
Oh, the plastic mount that you see.
Yes, they do.
All right, you said they didn't know about you. How long have you been around?
I don't mean us. I mean when they started, it really was surfing. That was their main focus. And then they went into bicycles, things like that. I don't think they paid attention to the fact of what drag racers really do and how violent it really gets.
Well, drag racers see everything and change it to drag racing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If doesn't matter what it was made for. We can put it on a drag car.
Right.
You know, but
You should see what I did with my surfboard.
I can imagine. Well, hey, Hollis Collegier uses 2 surfboards as a spoiler on the back of his Pro Gas car.
Well, there you have it then.
You know, so or Super Comp, whatever he runs. But how long have you been making the Vector mounts?
This is all brand new product. Actually, I got the Vector mount last year for my birthday at the end of the year. And so it took about 6 months to figure out that I had to do something, and we've been working on it ever since, producing it. So it's a brand new product.
Great.
Now, what would you suggest if somebody, does it depend? It seems that it does. It really depends on what your motor racing, sort of bent is as to which variety of the Vector mount you're going to want to get.
That's absolutely the case. And in a case when you're going in a straight line, unless you're the Winged Express, the odds are you're not going to be using a Vector mount, and so you really don't need it. But you do need a rigid camera mount. And now that they've been forced to quit using them, now you have no choice but go to something more rigid.
Well, now, speaking of somebody that goes in a straight line and is really good at it, Diana-Mite, I think you got a caller on the line.
I do. Let's go to line 1 and welcome Jack Beckman. Jack, welcome to Speed Scene Live.
Hey, that was a good segue from Vector mounts to me.
Hey, how do you like that, huh? Well, when you're a world champ, you get that kind of treatment, Jack.
I just want to know how you guys make those logical transitions.
Well, what I want to know is, after being crowned the world champ NHRA Nitro Funny Car, what did you do the next day at home? Were you out, picking up dog poop or trying to get the forklift to work? Or what was your humbling moment?
Actually, the next day was pretty... Well, the humbling moment was that night. The motorhome wouldn't start, so we left it at Pomona. But the next day was the banquet. Tuesday, I got a ride back to Pomona, jump-started the motorhome, came back, mowed the lawn, and started going to work on it. My whole life is humbling moments, most of them behind the wheel.
Have you put the number 1 on your tractor yet?
Yeah. Hey, you just gave me something to do.
Hi, Jack. How you doing?
Good, guys.
Oh, we're so glad that you got the championship. You earned it. You really worked hard for this, and it's great to see it happen. Now, most people know you from the Top Fuel Funny Car ranks, but you've been racing a lot of different cars over the years.
No, I'm just a bracket racer. We met clear back at LACR at Palmdale Raceway, right. And it's interesting. I have a lot of pinch me moments. I've been doing this a long time, but people might not necessarily know this because the first 21 years of my career were all brackets and super category racing, and I worked a regular job and I maintained my own stuff, drove it to the races. All my vacation days went towards racing. All my overtime went into my own race car. So to transition into a pro team where you get a paycheck for doing it, the car's 2,000 miles away and work on it. Hell, they don't want me working on the thing. and then to go out and win the world championship is beyond my wildest expectations.
All right, we got your mom on there, too, a picture of you, I believe. Well, that's not your mom, but we got a picture of you with your mom coming up, and you both have, you have an interesting story about your success story, but unfortunately your mom isn't around to see your success right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you had a picture of my mom, that would be from a long time ago. Yeah,
yes.
She passed away from cancer when she was 50, and that's by far the toughest thing I've ever had to go through. Even going through 6 months of chemotherapy with my cancer was a walk in the park compared to losing her.
Yeah, I can imagine. But you have seen so much success, and it's great to see. Now, we know you with the funny car. Many people don't realize you drove a Top Fuel dragster.
Yeah, half the year in 2012, in 2005 we went to 12 races with the Top Fuel car. And in fact, the plan for 06 was to partner with Don Schumacher on another Top Fuel car. And for a multitude of reasons, we just weren't able to make that happen. And when I say we, Roger and Karen Comstock, who own MTS, and they've been a sponsor on the side of my car the entire time I've been in the Nitro ranks. So in 2006, I was back to running my Super Comp car, and I thought, that's it. I had my 12 races in a Top Fuel car. I got my dream, and I'll just bracket race and Super Comp race the rest of my life. And then late summer of 06, we get a call from Don Schumacher and wanted to know if we were interested in doing a funny car deal. And I thought, I guess, sure, and it worked out pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it sure did. You've got some interesting rides, too, in like that first qualifying pass you made this last race.
Interesting is your way of putting it. Yeah, the thing blew up. It blew up big time. For the people who didn't see it, it put parts of our Valvoline Dodge Charger deep into the grandstands there. And I have never had an explosion like that, and I have an entirely new respect for the force of the concussion when one of those superchargers lets loose. And we think we probably just hurt a piston or a ring, which eventually led to a connecting rod failure, which led to $100,000 worth of damage. And the guys not only got the car back together for the next day, we had another nice-looking Valvoline next-gen body we could put on it, but we wound up running low ET of Friday, which gave us 3 bonus points. We won the championship by 2 points. Wow. The fact that that Valvoline crew was able to put that car back together perfectly and make it run low ET of Friday, that won us the championship.
My favorite part is when you get out of the car and you put your hands up like, I'm okay, I'm all right.
Well, yeah, I thought the cool thing to do would be do the Ricky Bobby thing and run around and start taking my clothes off, but they'd probably tackle me. But what happened is, if you guys watch the video, and I do this all the time because I think people unwittingly put themselves in harm's way more often than they need to. Once I got the car stopped and stood up, I looked behind me to make sure the safety safari truck wasn't driving up right next to me, and I'd step out and get run over. and the next thing I did when I got out of the car is I didn't want them hitting me with the fire hose because I got to wear that same suit the next day, so I just held my hand up so they knew I was all right. Then I started smelling something weird, and it took my left eyebrow off, and you know that smell of burnt hair? That wasn't very pleasant.
Hey, but you kept it in the lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. It's interesting. I always, and at the Frank Hawley Drag School, the people we teach there, you always teach them to prepare yourself, to visualize, to practice. And in a Nitro Funny car, you don't just practice perfect runs, you practice what you would do if something went wrong. But I had never been tested quite like that because you don't know what it's like to not be able to see. It wasn't just the flames in my face, it threw oil all over the front of the helmet. And maybe the salvation was, because we were going 290 miles an hour when it happened, the wind eventually blew enough of the oil away that I could see somewhat. But when you lose the body, you lose all the downforce. So the car starts bouncing. When it's got oil all over the place and it gets under the tires, it starts sliding. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to hammer the wall and we're going to ruin this chassis. And the body's already toast, but we can stick another body on that chassis and come back the next day. I just didn't want to run into anything.
Dan, you had a great run on the next day. Like you said, the team got the car in perfect condition. You set low ET in that qualifying session.
Yeah, we ran 4:02. I think that was the comeback of the year. You know, it's interesting. People say, what won the championship for you guys? And there's a bunch of moments. And the reality is, it almost came down to a coin toss between us and the Napa team. They were 2 fantastic teams, 2 drivers that both deserved the championship, and unfortunately only one team was going to win it. It was so close, you start looking at what was the defining moments. Well, I think that when you go back 6 races or 10 races or 15 races, there's a lot of moments where you say, if we would have got this one, if we would have got this one. But if you boiled our season down, that one run on Friday won us the championship.
That's great. And that was Caps that came in second behind you.
Yeah, it's a tough deal. I mean, I feel for Ron, as I'm pretty sure he would if they had wound up winning the thing. And like I said, it's almost unfortunate they didn't have 2 trophies to give away.
Yeah, Ron's a friend of the show, good guy. We've interviewed him several times, and, it was difficult for us. We had 2 friends there, and they were both, vying for the championship. So,
well, yeah, I always tell people, I said, I am totally comfortable with, and this is at the end of the year when it was getting real close. And Mike Neff was in the mix until Pomona too. But I said, if you're a Ron Capps and if you're a Jack Beckman fan, you should cheer for me. And if you're just a fan, you should cheer because you're going to see a fantastic finish, and that's what everybody got.
Mm-hmm. All right, now I got a question for you. You've driven just about everything from door slammers to dragsters to funny cars. What other car could you or would you race in a different division or type of racing?
I really want to drive a jet car. And people call them exhibition vehicles and that they're not real race cars, but they look pretty exciting. Traction's never an issue with them. They can literally run on any track as long as it's smooth. And it looks like they accelerate in a pretty linear fashion. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I've always
I don't
wanted to
really
drive.
have any desire to get on a pro stock motorcycle. I'd probably get on a 9-second bike, but nothing that runs in the 6s. The Pro Mod cars look pretty terrifying. I don't know. Maybe I'd get in the trunk of one of those for a run.
Hey, wait, Bruce, go back a couple pictures because we pat right there on the left of the screen there. Of course, on the other side, you see Bernie Longjohn in the red, but directly opposite, Fast Jack in your youth.
Oh, that's a great picture, Jack.
Jack, we got the picture of LACR where we were pieing Fast Eddie.
Yeah, and that wasn't the mullet, guys. It was just always dusty and windy up at Palmdale, and that's my story.
Yeah, I think that's a mullet, Jack.
Yeah. In retrospect, it may have been.
Yeah, well, after you wear your helmet a few times, whatever it was, it get pushed down to look like one. And I'm right in the middle. I was the one that just put the pie in.
That's right.
In Eddie's face there. Yeah,
you shenanigan.
Yeah, we had fun at LACR on those days. Now you've run the El Camino. That was your first car, and you still have that car, correct?
What year El Camino?
Yeah. I've actually still got the Blackbird, too. It's sitting in the backyard. You know, my wife, Jenna, was a super comp racer before she got pregnant with our son, Jason, and a few years ago I said, I probably ought to sell the Blackbird, my super comp dragster, because it was becoming obvious I didn't have time to run it. And she said, no, don't sell it. You got to hang on to it. And then about a year ago, she said, why don't we sell that car? And when I reminded her of what she had said earlier, she said, well, I thought by now we'd have a museum or a place to put the thing. I want to keep it in the backyard.
Oh, man.
And that's what you're building right now.
Yeah, museum. Yeah. I guess museums are places where things don't move for years. That would describe my garage.
Yeah, Jack, I loved it. I was reading something that you were talking about one time, and you were talking about fixing up an old forklift and all the time and money and time you spent on that. You said, man, compared to race cars, man, this thing is just incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I don't know if the 1964 one-ton Clark is considered a rare find right now. I didn't see any at the Mecum auction this year, but I've got one of them.
And somehow you've become an expert at it now, huh?
Does that still have the flathead in it?
I think I'm the best mechanic in the Western Hemisphere when it comes to disassembling stuff.
Oh, okay, then.
Putting it back together and making it work again.
You disassembled the dragster while in motion. Not many people can do that.
Yeah. My latest foray is the motorhome step. The thing's not working right. It's binding up. I take it apart. I weld some stuff on it. It's worse than it started. And I thought, damn it, I just won the championship, and I'm going to get a bonus. I'm going to buy a new step. And I go online, and they're $1,200.
Geez.
I took it back out of the motorhome, and I'm finishing repairing it right now.
Now, Jack, we talk about repair, we talk about your regular job. Now, I took your class when you were teaching at Frank Hawley. Are any plans to resume teaching at some point?
Well, I never quit teaching. Basically, what happened is we just didn't renew the lease in 2008 at Pomona. We still had the school in Gainesville, and it was getting to the point where the rent went up every year in Pomona, and the days of racetrack usage went down. It just didn't make sense from a financial standpoint. But even since that day, I've filled in for Frank on multiple occasions. The problem right now is he doesn't schedule classes where he's not going to be there, so there's not much opportunity for me to come fill in. But we actually had talked several times last year, and as recently as a couple of weeks ago, about coming up with some sort of seminar program that travels to some of the events, and maybe we'll do it before national events, or maybe we'll do it at some of the smaller bracket tracks. I loved that job. Absolutely one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It kept me grounded. It reminded me that the things we teach apply even in the Nitro Funny cars, and I met some of the most wonderful people. I've had over 7,000 students there, so I would really like to get back into doing that on a limited basis. It's just that with two small kids, it's already tough enough on Jenna with my travel schedule. I can't tell her I want to take more time and go on the road.
Well, one of those students was Bruce Barker, actually, one of your students, and he learned how to drive a little bit. Only time he's ever been in a Super Comp style dragster, and that's thanks to Fast Jack and the Frank Hawley Drag Racing School.
That was one of a kind, Jack, and you were there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be a part of an experience like that for somebody. Like I always tell people, everybody, 99.8% of the people said, listen, we're not DMV. When people come here, they come here with a bucket list, or they come here with a necessity to learn to drive a faster car because they've got one at home. So usually they leave with a pretty big grin on their face. But it's an amazing 2 days. The average person has no concept of what they go through mentally just driving an 8-second or a 9-second super gas car at the school. It's pretty cool.
Well, Jack, thanks so much for calling in. We appreciate it. Congratulations once again on your World Championship. I guess come February you're going to have to do it again.
Hey, I'm still a bracket racer, but they're paying me to do this.
Well, thanks for calling. We appreciate it, and really a pleasure to speak to you again.
And happy holidays to you guys and everybody out there listening.
Thanks so much, Jack. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
You know, Steve, that would be a person that would be interesting to see. He had that camera inside the car, and you saw the flames and the explosion, and of course it was a static mount, and then the camera sort of melted away. But you know, it would be exciting to kind of have the camera moving around while all that's going around, and one of your mounts would be the type of mount that could do that.
I think one of the mounts would have been blown off since the body was blown off, Lucky, since they're actually attached to the body, right?
And what an interesting video that would have been, as the vector mount's carrying that camera. Yeah.
Still attached to the body.
Still attached.
It won't let go. Won't let go.
With a view from the grandstands. Coming to you live and direct.
This is where the body went.
So now, could you mount this like on a helmet of a motorcycle rider or something like
Not
that?
really practical.
No? Okay.
It would take a much bigger curve.
It's too much, huh? Too much.
Okay, I'm just trying
And
to...
it gets very heavy. When you start mounting things on your helmet, it's surprising.
Yeah.
Now, Steve, bring that vector mount out, because we're going to put one of these mounts on the Speed Scene Live Novas, and we're going to start shooting footage with this, and we're going to let you guys know how it works. We're going to show it on the show, and you're going to get a chance to see, although he's got some great, if you go to vectormount.com, you see some great footage, all different type of cars, and one of the ones that I really enjoyed were the drift cars, and aren't you guys the actual official drift car mount?
Yes, we are. And actually, after the first time we took it out, I was quite surprised at how well it worked. And Formula Drift is the official racing association for drifting, and they really liked it. The same story I was starting to tell earlier was that the teams have to create their own videos, and to create their own videos, they do everything they can because they're trying to get sponsors. They're trying to do everything they can, and there's one of the videos running now. And so the drivers are charged with trying to get good videos no matter what, and by having the vector, which you see on top of the car there, by having the vector, it makes it much easier to get stunning video, so they don't have to put so much time and energy into it, and it actually tells a better, smoother story. So then the Racing Association saw it, loved it, and wanted to move to them.
So on this show on Speed Scene Live, we're constantly trying to tell racers how to get sponsors, what to do, and this is actually a tool that people can use that'll take a simple GoPro or other brand of camera, and you can use it as a marketing tool by creating exciting footage that is when somebody sits down and goes, whoa, 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 and they feel like they're in the car. That sort of conveys the excitement of racing, and they can see the stands. You know, you get a shot of the stands, and then it goes back to the car. This is a great tool to use in your toolbox for acquiring sponsorship.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, is nowadays it's a social media world where you need to have media, you need to have videos, and that's the whole thing about the GoPro has brought that for a very inexpensive price, an incredible quality video. It's just the mounting, and that's why we are Vector Mount, because we're just trying to fix the mounting issues.
Now, Steve, Diana-Mite talked about these suction cups and just how intense they are, and they've got a little lever, you put them down, you flip the lever. Man, they're rock solid. How did you get these suction cups to work so good and to be so strong?
Well, actually, we have partnered up with the company that manufactures those, and that company is very well known. It is called Ram Mount, and they supply us with those suction cups because they are such a good product. We found nothing else on the market that would mount the same, would work as well, and they have a long, long history of producing them and very, very good quality control.
Well, looking at the product itself, I mean, it's a high quality product. It's well made. You know, the suction cups just add to the whole mount itself, and it's affordable.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, that's the main thing. You can actually afford to purchase it. So you're not out $1,000 or $2,000 to get the photography that you want.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is that nowadays people can do this themselves with the GoPros and very simple editing software. So that's the idea, is get really good quality mounting so the quality of the video is good, and then you can do whatever you need to procure sponsors.
All right, now the ones that we've got that you brought with you are raw aluminum or anodized aluminum. Have you given any thought to doing them in different colors, or are they available in different colors?
They are available in different colors, and one of the things is that black is the problem for the sportsman racer because the plastic black stuff is very hard to distinguish from black anodized aluminum. So that's why here we brought a lot of prototype stuff, but we probably won't be supporting having the sportsman racer or the NHRA using the black components because you can't tell the difference between a high-quality billet piece and an inexpensive plastic piece when they truly look identical. When you have anodized aluminum and just clear, or a color that isn't black, then the tech officials can actually tell that that is not a piece of plastic.
No question about it.
They just don't want they don't want problems. They don't want safety issues, and they want you to have the video. It's not that they don't want you to do video. They just don't want to have anybody harmed over it.
Yeah, they don't want the plastic ones breaking because the vibrations from a car going down the track, the loads from the wind and the acceleration, and if a car pops a wheel and comes back down, like we see Crazy Connie do on a regular basis, that will shake and break the plastics.
And not only that, but they won't stay put. So as you adjust these and you start doing wheelies, you start doing anything crazy, the camera mounts just move. And that's where the aluminum comes in. It's just much tougher. The mounts, the big heavy-duty mounts that we're doing are much more stable, yet something to understand is that no matter what, everything flexes. And that's, you notice as you're taking your car down the track, the roll bar flexes. Everything in the car flexes. And so we try to keep everything as rigid as possible and as close as possible, but sometimes people want a long shot. They want a shot where the camera is well off of where you would be able to mount it rigidly. And so we've even come up with other pieces that allow you to have the camera hanging from the car, quite a distance away from the car, actually. And so here's one that I don't even know that it will show.
Holy
wow, that's
cow.
a lot. That's a lot of mount there.
There's a mount.
That's a lunar rover.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Does it walk by itself?
Yes, our whole design is modular. So this, you see, is the exact same mount that we're using on the little one that Diana has over there. And so modular systems like this allow you, for instance, to put it on the car and shoot from a position. One of the ones we were asked to build for was a few feet away from the driver. So you could look through the driver window and see the driver as he's actually going through the racing procedure.
Well, bigger is better.
Well, that's what Diana says. You know, we mentioned the sponsorships and how important a tool like this is. Bruce, why don't you bring line 3 up, and we'd like to welcome, well, Diana-Mite, can you bring him up, please?
Well, let's go to line 3 and welcome Ike Heckler. Ike, welcome to Speed Scene Live.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. How you guys doing?
We are doing great. Ike, you are a drag racer. You're also the author of 2 well-selling books, and well, you know a little bit about getting sponsors.
Yeah, and actually tonight I'm going to give the racers some tips on how to get sponsored. Other interviews I've kind of said, you know, buy the books, but it's a holiday season, so I want to give them some inside info here.
And Ike, did you ask Chris to call in tonight too?
Yeah, actually we have a second driver that came into our IH Racing stable, Chris Thunderbolt Stanton, and he's had a fantastic rookie year.
Okay, let's go to line 2 and welcome Chris. Chris, welcome to Speed Scene Live.
Hey, thanks, guys. How you doing?
Great.
We're doing good. You're doing you're a good asset to the race team, huh, Chris?
Yeah, drag racing 101 and 201 has helped me out in greatly with my rookie season.
And, you know, before we get into the sponsor tips, we do got to let people know that these books, where can people buy these books if they want to use them for a Christmas present, stocking stuffer type thing?
Sure, Lucky. The paperback is holiday priced at only $20, and we have the ebook is available only $4.99, available for any device out there via Google, Amazon, and Barnes & Noble, and the drag racers can just go to ih-racing.com, or they can Google up Drag Racing 101 or Drag Racing 201.
Now, let's get into the sponsorship a little bit, because next week we're going to have Ernie Saxton on. A lot of people are familiar with his company and, him writing columns in National Dragster, and we've talked a lot about sponsorship. Give us a couple tips for the racers out there.
All right, guys, get your pencils ready. Here you go. The first thing you need, and Chris will vouch for this, is you really need a schedule at any level. And what that shows, we're actually in the advertising and the entertainment business. That shows the potential marketing partner where they're advertising. for example, for 2013, my Le Mans is going to be doubling up with Super Street 1090 and 11.0 Index class, running the entire Lucas Oil Division 2 Series, and also the Atlanta NHRA Maliol National event. And what this does, racers, this greatly increases our chances of prime ESPN2 coverage and being featured in National Dragster. And as Chris and I have been working on the packages the past 6 months, we have different levels of pricing that reflect that.
Cool. Chris, what have you learned by reading Ike's 2 books?
Well, as far as sponsors go, it's not really all about money. For instance, Lucas Oil and VP Racing Fuels are an associate sponsor of ours, and we do product sponsorships from them. That greatly decreases our cost of getting to the track when we don't have to buy oil or buy fuel, or even if it's like with our fuel sponsorship, it's greatly reduced from a normal retail price.
Now, Ike, do you find that having a 2-car team is helpful for you guys? Or just a lot more work?
Actually, it's been very interesting. And one thing that's really helpful is that you're not there alone, or even if you did have a crew person with you, you've got a couple trailers there, a couple race cars. I mean, a lot more support in the pits, and we all crew chief each other's cars because we run different classes right now. And the product sponsorships is for the racers out there, what Chris was referring to, are very powerful. We're also working with Wix. We picked those guys up in 2010 at the Pink Salad event in ZMAX. But we got VP Racing Fuels, Lucas Oil. And to the racers, anytime you don't have to write a check, and if a company can push a part across the counter, it's a lot easier than a check.
Now, we've been talking tonight to Steve from Vector Mount, and you can see all those products at vectormount.com. And they make these great deals where the camera moves as you go down the track. And
they are really cool, by the way.
You get some incredible footage. What do you think this would do if you're showing them to a sponsor or potential sponsor? How valuable do you think a tool like this would be, Ike?
I've been thinking about that watching your show this evening, and I think as long as it would showcase some of the crowd shots and make sure that to showcase that all the crowd is there, and then the other sponsors that are on the other cars possibly, so then the marketing partner could look and say, wow, there's other sponsors out here in this racing circuit. I haven't wrapped my mind around all the possibilities yet, but Chris, do you have any information on that?
Well, I think it'd be great. I mean, like, whenever you produce a sponsored video to look at, even if it doesn't show the crowds, I mean, it just dazzles them with with what the car does while it's going down the track, especially an in-car video of how good you run. I mean, when they see that you're on the ball and that shift light turns on, that shifter's moving, they just look at that and say, that guy knows what he's doing. Let's look at him closer to sponsor him.
Now, Chris,
having other sponsors like my car sponsor, Laszlo Racing. I mean, having his name on the side of the car with a view of the camera as that car is going down the track, that would be phenomenal. So if he was making a commercial or something like that for his business.
Now, Chris, you got the, is it a brown and black, is it a Monte Carlo?
Yeah, it's a Monte Carlo SS.
Okay. And tell us a little bite about the car. What kind of horsepower, what kind of transmission, that type of deal?
Well, it's actually a budget-built race car. It's Ike will tell you by the way I built the car was with minimal money out of pocket, just buying and selling, making good investments and selling. When I bought the car, it was a 305. It was a street car, and I bought another car with a big block in it. Took the big block out, put it in the Monte Carlo, and I mean, we built the 12-second car out of pocket.
Now, I read both of Ike's books. In fact, I've read them a couple times because there's a lot of good tips in there. And I remember reading about Ike getting the Pontiac 400 block, and he kind of runs through the whole gambit of how to build your motor. And there's some great information on there, some real world stuff, some real world tips that you can use. and I'm sure that stuff was all helpful to you when you were building your car.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Drag Racing 101 was almost a Bible, to building my car. And having Ike standing there right next to me building the car, that was, having, somebody that's experienced in building and knowing what it takes to build a car is, that was just like, that was a godsend for me,
Now, Ike, where are you guys going to be next year? I know you mentioned a little bit about the Super Street and the 11.0 Index. What are some of the events you'll be racing at next year?
Besides the entire NHRA Division II Lucas Oil Series, we've got the Atlanta Meliel National event running 1090 Super Street. We've got the Bradenton NMCA, actually the opener, and we've got the Atlanta NMCA NHRA Unleashed event also. We did some tested tuning at Citrus Nationals. Chris actually ran with me down there. We got the Pontiac O and the 1088 123. So we're actually going to run old school also, Lucky. You'll like this being a racer yourself. It's a little foot brake car. And it was a time shot, but I still put a Super Street car with throttle stop and delay box. Had a 50 Pro Tree, and I put him out with an 88. He run 86.
Nice.
So we're going to run old school. And on that note, I'd like to take a little attention in the pits out there, racers, attention in the pits. NHRA is inviting all sideline, pinks all out cars, and any other race car that can run in the 1090 Index to come out where electronics are optional. I repeat, electronics are optional. Let's show them we know how to run all out.
Nice. Well, Ike, thanks for calling. I recommend your books highly. Christmas is coming. People should pick up a copy or two of your books. Make great presents. And the ebook, very economical. The hardback cover, I really like the hardback because I like a good book. So, Ike, thanks for calling in to Speed Scene Live. And, of course, Chris Stanton, thank you so much for being part of the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Take care, boys.
We'll talk to you later. Now, Steve, what else do we need to know about the Vector mount? Is there anything we haven't covered so far?
We've covered pretty much everything except the fact that the NHRA stuff we are working on currently. We have just added it to our website. It is not even purchasable on the website yet, but if you go to the website, you'll be able to contact us and we will work with you directly. We are interested in finding people that want to implement the parts, and we will work with individual racers to get them what they need.
Well, Diana-Mite, you've got one more caller on the line.
Let's
there,
go
don't
to
you?
line one. Nitro Man, you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, thanks so much, sweetie, for waiting. You're just so patient.
Oh, no problem.
Nitro Man, this is an awesome invention that Steve's got over here.
Yeah, that thing's pretty incredible. He's got a heck of a mind, and he's always on to something.
Well, now
He means it in a good way.
You've been instrumental in getting this car on drag cars, and what's that mile per hour, Steve? 249?
228.
228. And you've had this car on the Winged Express, which has got to be one of the shakier cars out there. You've done a lot with the Vector mount so far. I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, I was, didn't want to wish anything bad, but that was one reason I wanted to get it on the Winged Express, because if anything was really going to move out there, it was going to be him. And too bad we didn't have this last year or year before when he did that big move over there in Bradford's lane.
Oh, yeah, when he changed lanes, went around him on the burnout.
We were talking about
That'd have been Dynamite, and here Bradford tried to pay him back, but decided to go on two wheels in the other way.
Yeah. Well, you guys have done a lot, and we're going to do a lot with it next year. We're going to take it all across the country. We're going to go up to Woodburn, Oregon. We're going to go to Ohio. We're going to go to the New Hampshire reunion race. We're going to go to Bowling Green, Kentucky. We're going to take this mount all over the country. We're going to film the cars, and we're going to really put it through its paces and try it out in good weather, bad weather, all kinds of weather.
So from one coast to the other, Lucky, right?
One coast to the other. And, we're really looking forward to trying it out. I'm going to go to a big 10.5 outlaw race up at Woodburn Drag Strip this coming summer, and maybe I can put it on one of those 10.5 cars, and we can let them give it a shot.
Yeah, there you go. We got them the first time they showed up. They were up there at the Governor's Cup in Sacramento this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'll be a good deal to give them a try. So, VectorMount.com. We've showed everything about this, and whoa.
Yeah. More noise.
Blame
more
it on
sound.
Bruce, guys. You know, what do you do when you're live? Nitro Man, thanks so much for calling in. Take care.
No problem, thank you. And we need to get one on Lysenko, not just feeling bad for Jack, but Lysenko would be the real proof there, even with Jack's help, maybe on an altitude.
There you go.
Okay, thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Well, you know, Steve, I think if you put one on Fast Jacks, you're going to need fireproof. Okay, you know, nothing personal, Jack.
Exactly.
What's the SFI of those social
Well,
cups?
come on, you know what? He's already done his one body off for the year, so I don't think he's going to do it anymore.
Yeah, but there's a whole new year coming up.
Yeah, you know, well, then we'll wait toward the end of the year, right, Jack? We wish that on nobody.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on and
Thank
talking
you.
about the Vector mount. This is an incredible, innovative product that has really put the excitement back into the whole GoPro market. And I think it's fantastic, and I can't wait to try it out. And I know there's a lot of racers out there that want to use them. Off-road racing, all different types of racing. This is something you got to get.
And what was that website again, Lucky? VectorMount.com?
VectorMount.com. That's where you go, baby.
Ladies, for your gentlemen that have GoPros or any type of small camera, great Christmas idea.
I'm getting ideas now.
Yeah. It's always strapping one onto this.
Yeah, give me some U-bolts.
Well, Lucky, we're almost at the top of the hour. I don't know if we have time for what's going on, but we want to thank Curry Racing Rear Ends as well as Hedman Hustler Headers.
That's right. We'll see you next week. We're going to have a great show next week. We're going to do more sponsor tips. We've got Alex, the car girl, live in studio, and a bunch of cool stuff. So tune in next week, and don't forget, in 2 weeks from now, we're going to do that big Speedway show for the City of Industry, the Monster Energy World Speedway Invitational, December 29th at City of Industry. Not only will we have European and American riders in the studio, but Speed Scene Live will be out at the track watching all the action.
Man, it just doesn't stop, which is the way we like it. Diana-Mite, good to see you again.
Good to be seen.
Lucky.
Bruce, it will stop. Christmas Day, we will not be on the air, and we'll be off for the entire month of January, and we will be back at the beginning of February.
Indeed. Hey, Steve, good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Bob, I'm green with envy. Oh, now he's got the side mod going there. One way or another, this is going to work, man. One way or another. All right, coming up is the encore presentation of the show. Thanks so much for joining us as we head toward the holidays. Happy holidays in advance to everyone watching. And, of course, be sure to join us right here every week. Speed Scene Live at speedscenelive.com. And, hey, we'll do this again 1 week from right now. All right? Good night, everybody.
Speed Scene Live TV, the #1 online motorsports TV show. Brought to you by Curry Racing Rear Ends, M&H Tires, and TheFope.com.